Welcome, fair people of YouTube. Today we are here with second episode of Meta with Crimson Fencers, a series in which I talk with my fellow teammates from the team Crimson Fencers about current meta and what decks to bring, and we explain a single deck in every single of these episodes. So today with me is our Ramp Dragon player Azur.
Hello.
And he will be explaining to us the same exact deck, the Ramp Dragon. So yeah, let's begin. Yes, so this on the screen you see our Ramp Control Dragon that we'll be playing right now. Ramp is of course the common name for the decks that achieve the victory by gaining a lot of mana points and basically getting ahead of your opponent in case of mana points and tempo, which goes from that. And the name is taken from the Magic the Gathering, from the card Rampant Growth that was actually giving you additional mana. And yeah, since the Magic is kind of the old father of all the card games, it's stuck in every single card game. Right, so we'll talk about several things about this deck. First of all, we want to focus on the ramp part. Second of all, we want to focus on the control part, basically what lets you survive the whole ramping process, and then we'll talk about how you win the game. So Azur, let's start from the ramp card. We have pretty standard choices here, right? Everyone saw already triple Dragon Oracle and Ayala in the deck. We also play triple Draconic Fervor, so is there any particular reason why you play exactly 3 of each of these cards?
I need to ramp as fast as possible to hit a Bahamut or Saha Wheel Lucifer. Saha Wheel Lucifer on turn 5 will beat almost every aggro deck, and a Bahamut on turn 7 through 9 is so much stronger than what your opponent can do.
Yeah, so basically ramp is cheat.
Ward is cheat.
Heal is also cheat. Yeah.
No, I don't care about healing here.
Yeah, speaking of healing, we have some healing cards. The Unica and Lucifer, also Draconic Fervor, that's a lot of heal, but you don't choose to play the Healing Angel. Some people actually do that. Any reasoning behind that?
It's just hard to fit in space. Unica will do the exact same thing more often than not. It's basically a 2-2 ward that, if I play it late game, also heals. The Draconic Fervor will heal me for 3. And it's also, turn 3 is a very tough spot because I want to play Ayala or Dragon Oracle plus removal spell. So it's very difficult to actually fit space in this deck as well, since every single card is necessary.
So the deck is pretty tight. Yeah, I can understand that. Now, we see that there is actually no Siegfried in the list, and Siegfried is really not really in favor of players right now. Do you know the reason behind it?
It's just slow right now, especially in this deck where the earliest that I can kill something with it is turn 5 with a Blazing Breath Siegfried. If I have another creature out, but that's not reliable. And most of the cards I want to kill with that, I'll just use an Odin to banish.
Yeah, because you have
or a Saha Wheel Lucifer to just throw a 6/7 at it, or even Saha Wheel Bahamut to make sure it's dead.
Yeah, and speaking of Sahakiel, let's focus some more on this card, because this is actually a powerhouse of a card.
This deck, I have a ton of neutral win conditions in this deck. Even if you need to have a Saha Wheel into a Goblin Mount Demon, you're able to kill most anything with that. Saha Wheel Lucifer is obviously the combo everyone knows about. Kill a creature, gain 4 life, big tempo swing, heal. It feels really bad if you're an aggro player.
Yeah, you can actually summon a 4/4, deal with 1 minion, and heal for 4. Orphal's only 7 mana.
Yeah, which in this deck, doing that turn 5 is not uncommon.
Huh.
So, because a Dragon Oracle into an Aela.
Or another Dragon Oracle. Alright, now
Into Saha Wheel.
speaking of removal, your removal base is actually triple Blazing Breath, triple Breath of the Salamander, and double Odin. Any particular choice? I mean, reason behind this choice?
There's also 2 Dragon Warriors.
Alright, let's count them as removal too.
With this, the Blazing Breath and Breath of the Salamander are early enough that I won't die to most aggressive decks on board. Plus, Breath of the Salamander is really good late too to get Bahamut to swing in for 13. Double Odin helps beat Seraph, helps beat Mordekai's, and is just a general catch-all answer that leaves behind a fairly solid sized body. I couldn't really find room for a Call of the Cocytus or Dance of Death type removal spell.
Yeah, but it
Because
seems
with
like
that-
it's not needed, because Sagel is kind of the removal spell too.
More often than not, yeah.
And I mean, Bahamut is also kind of removing stuff.
The deck has
Have you considered running Conflagration in this deck? Would you ever consider running that?
if the meta shifted to be a lot more aggressive and I still wanted to play this deck, I would find a way to play it. I would likely cut the Prince of Darkness and one Bahamut to play 2.
Right, so yeah, so Conflagration according to you is the anti-aggro tech. Because with this kind of ramp you can actually play it on turn 5, it's still a board clear.
But right now, I don't think it's as well positioned since a lot of the aggro is Burn and Storm. So decks like an aggro Forest started to show up a lot more. I would consider teching it, but currently I don't think it's good enough.
I see. Alright, so one more card that catches my eye is this Ivory Dragon. It's actually not a common choice. Could you explain?
Here, I think because you can play it early versus aggro decks to try and trade off with a minion. Later on, it's not a dead draw, because once you have Overflow, it's just 1 mana, 1/2 draw a card, which also is really good if you've landed a Prince of Darkness, because it's 1 mana, draw an Apocalypse card. So, 6 mana, put a 1/2 and a 13/13 into play is not a bad card.
Yeah, pretty good. Alright, and what have we not covered yet here? Probably the Prince of Darkness, so there is also no Storm in the deck. Why do you think that Prince of Darkness is better than just like Genesis Dragon Pack, for example?
That requires more card slots, and it can be hard countered by wards and heals. Whereas if you drop a Prince of Darkness, you're winning the game within the next few turns.
Yeah, I basically managed to, with Control Blood, to beat Satan once.
It's not very common.
Yeah,
Everyone says that they've done it once, but they don't mention how many times. Oh, yeah, they played Prince of Darkness and next turn I was dead.
yeah. Alright, so this is basically ladder version, right?
Yes, I play this on ladder just because it's not terrible versus aggro decks. It can beat most control decks.
Can you be more persuading? Because being not terrible versus aggro decks is not really the best thing on ladder right now.
With that, this deck, I started playing it because I was playing a lot against a lot of control decks. At the time, I was playing against a lot of Nep Shadow, a lot of Seraph, and a lot of Dirt Rune, surprisingly. I think that I had a day that I played against 40 or so of those 3 decks combined out of 60-ish matches. Or I want to play a deck that's good against those. So I thought up, alright, Odin is good against those decks. Right, how do I
It's also solid.
make sure I get Odins? Right, this deck has a lot of card draw. I can get to an Odin fast. Originally, I had Dragon Emissary in this list, but found it not good versus aggro since I had to skip turn 2. So it ended up getting removed for more removal.
Yeah,
I upped the Blazing Breath to 3 and the Unica to 3.
yeah, that's probably good versus aggro. So, how do you basically play this deck on ladder? What are your best matchups? What are your worst matchups? And how do you deal with your worst matchups? Let's start from the best. What do you target with this deck?
Other control decks, I'm able to ramp up to my threats before they can get to their threats, forcing them to be reactive. Well, I'm still generally drawing a lot of cards. I'm never having an empty hand with this deck, really. So I'm slowly wearing out resources and hoping to drop the first Prince of Darkness in a control matchup. The first person who does that generally wins the game.
Unless they draw really poorly.
Yeah.
Alright,
If
and like, what's the general matchup versus aggro decks with this deck? Like, you said it's not terrible, but how would you say percentages?
Aggro Blood is probably 40-60 favoring Aggro Blood. Aggro Shadow is anywhere from 40-60 to like 60-40, depending on if they're the Atomy or the regular aggro version. The Atomy aggro I actually have a little more trouble dealing with, since I can't use small removal spells to deal with an Atomy early. Whereas the regular one I can play an Imprisoned Dragon or a Goblin Mount with a couple removal spells and stabilize.
For people watching this, Atomy aggro is actually not a meme, it is a very serious deck that wins games, and if you don't believe me, you can come see it on my stream. Just, challenge me to win 3 games in a row with Atomy aggro and I will do it. And what about Albertcraft? Probably the most dangerous deck in the meta right now.
I find that the matchup is probably somewhere between 45-55 and 50-50, depending on if I'm on the play or the draw. If I'm on the play, I feel it's favored for me. Just because I can. I'm not as pressured on turn 2. I can play a Dragon Oracle.
I see.
And that lets me start snowballing into my later game cards.
Do you usually prefer going first or second? Does it differ on different matchups?
In control matchups, I like going second. The extra card is pretty important. To dig into a turn 2 Dragon Oracle, turn 3 Ayla. But in aggro matchups, I like to go first.
Would you drop Ayla on turn 3 versus Heaven and risk the Blackened Scripture?
It depends on, do I have another play? If I don't, I will play Ayla. If I do, I'll generally pick the other play.
I see. Alright, so
skipping.
What about combo decks? Because we have some combo decks in the meta. We have the forest decks. Basically every forest is a combo deck. Let's talk about forest as a combo roach. How do you defend from combo roach? Like the regular combo, not bolt combo, not homecoming combo, just regular roach. Is this deck able to sustain
it? It can. A lot of it is the consistency of the roach deck. If they are able to get the pre-nerf Gabu hands, then there's not very much that I can do. I can try and keep my health up, move stuff, play wards, and put them in a position that they're pressured. But if they have the 20 damage combo and I don't have a ward, it's tough.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I feel the matchup isn't unwinnable. It isn't even that bad. It's very draw dependent on both sides.
So you basically need to ramp before they cycle through roaches.
Yes, I need to essentially, you play ramp like a combo deck that you have to go, alright, my big spells before your big spells, and then I kill you with my cards. Because ramp's trying to do an unfair thing, which is play cards before they're meant to be played.
Yeah. And combo is trying to do unfair things of doing way too much damage than it should be possible.
Yes.
So basically everyone's
Wolf.
cheating. And that's why it's fair.
Wolf Bolt is a little easier, I feel, than straight combo Roach. It's a little bit slower. And if I don't have something that their Wolf can kill immediately, I get to Odin their Wolf and their combo is slowed down significantly.
As we actually saw in the finals of our show match that we had today actually, if you Odin the Wolf, the second Wolf will come and kill the Odin. And that's not really good.
If they have double Wolf in hand, yes. Yeah. Never lucky.
Never lucky, I guess. Alright, so what about the other combos like OTK Dragon or D-Shift? Which is your worst matchup?
Definitely D-Shift.
Like
I don't feel...
How much percent would you give?
I think I've beaten D-Shift once out of probably 40 games.
So that's not a lot.
It is not 2.5% approximately.
Yeah.
The thing is, I'm just not fast enough to pressure them. In the show match yesterday, I played a turn 6 Bahamut and still lost versus D-Shift.
Show match was today, or was it yesterday for you?
Technically yesterday, for me.
Alright.
The turn 6 Bahamut into a turn 7 Lucifer. And I still couldn't win.
You also played turn 8 Lucifer, right?
No, I played turn 8 Odin to kill a Flame Destroyer. So they didn't even have all their win cons.
Yeah, this is just the hopeless matchup. But then again, this D-Shift got pretty lucky with the triple Wind Blast early on.
Even then, there's just so much efficient removal in D-Shift for this matchup. It's not ever very good. I would have had to go turn 6 Prince of Darkness instead of turn 6 Bahamut. Draw the turn 7 Astaroth's Reckoning into turn 8. Kill you. Damage chance.
Alright. So,
and that's just not.
And how about the D-Shift matchup? Like, is there a trick to winning it, or do you just play your game the same as you always do? So you ramp and try to kill them as early as possible, or is there like a trick play? Maybe some tips you could give our viewers.
If you find yourself that you are playing against D-Shift and you know it, hold your Unicas because that makes Kaleidoscopic Glow a dead card. Hold Ivory Dragons so they don't have that. Don't play just a useless Imprisoned Dragon or Dragon Warrior to give them spell targets. You want them to not be able to go as fast when you get to your ramp.
So you basically play only ramp cards and only big threats.
Yes, you force them to have to spell boost without using removal spells, which slows them down a bit.
What about Ayala?
But
do
even
you value it more as a ramp card, or are you afraid of playing it because of giving your opponent targets for like Piercing Rune or Will Blast?
Problem is, most of the time you aren't 100% sure if they're G-Shift by the time you're playing Ayala. And you always have to assume it's Daria to start. Because if you just hold cards back, and it goes, oh, Daria, with a broken back, here's a full board and you can't clear it yet. Alright. Oh, I just lost for free because I didn't play cards out. That isn't something you can try and do.
So you have to play Ayla, but isn't the same going for the Unica? Like, would you hold Unica versus Runecraft? just in case this is D-Shift, or would you play it just in case it is Daria?
If I have an idea of it, I'll play Unica on 2. If they haven't played anything on turn 1, I will hold it.
Really? So you
If
think
I go
that if your
first.
opponent is not playing anything on 1, that means it's probably Daria, right? Is it because they have less 1-drops?
I think it's also playing Unica on 2 isn't always amazing in this deck. You can play it later on, and it's almost guaranteed to get heals after they're done with Evo points
Right.
first Daria.
So
Or
generally
if they went first and they went...
versus Runecraft, you want to keep your Unica. You only play her versus aggro decks, right?
Yeah, Runecraft is... Because Daria is an aggro deck technically.
I mean, I would
But at the
more
same time,
likely
it's slow.
classify her as a combo.
It can play aggro, it can play combo, it can play everything.
Yeah. Pen control. Master of all trades.
Yeah.
Alright, so...
OTK Dragon is a difficult matchup, but at the same time, it's also based on they have to draw the double Altered Fate to kill me, since they're not going to kill me with regular damage. If they don't get the double Altered Fate with double Dragon Fang and kill me from 20, I'll be able to start healing up that damage and put them out of reach, which makes it fairly easy.
So the Gobu nerf actually
It
helped.
is a very...
So the Gobu nerf actually helped against this kind of matchup, because after Gobu nerf a lot of players, and including me, swapped the Azure Drakes for the Trail of Light. And Trail of Light really helps with Altered Fate turns.
Yeah.
Alright, so I think we have ladder pretty much covered. Let's move to the tournament. So if you want to bring this deck to a tournament, what are the changes you would... What cards would you cut and what would you add?
I cut the Ivory Dragons, 1 Unica, 1 Blazing Breath. I add in more Odin, go up to 3, 2 Prince of Darkness, I go up to 3 Dragon Emissaries. In a tournament, I bring this deck to try and beat control decks, and I really want to beat them. In the 3-deck 1 ban format, I always ban out Runecraft if I'm playing this lineup, so I don't have to deal with D-Shift, which makes this deck a lot better overall.
And how do you deal with aggro? If you kind of take out your aggro answers from the deck, what do you expect from the aggro matchups?
I have to mulligan more aggressively if I think they're an aggro deck. I have to mulligan for Unicas and for Blazing Breaths.
Which
Fairly
you have
hard.
only 2 of each in the tournament version, right?
Yes.
Well, that's not
If
really
you
likely.
get those, it's not. But if you get them, the matchups feel very winnable. If you don't, you have to just try and play as very conservative as you can.
Yeah, so just play regular anti-aggro game.
Yeah, you can't ever afford to be greedy in the matchup.
Right, so
I would.
what other decks would you bring with this deck to a tournament? Do you cover your aggro weakness, or do you try to exploit your power versus the other control decks?
I am going to bring Wolf Bolt as my other deck. I feel that deck is very good. It can answer aggro, can answer combo, can answer control, all fairly well.
Yeah, what
Its
was
worst
the
matchup is
difference
D-Shift.
versatile?
And I already am planning on banning out Rune, so I have one of its worst matchups already covered.
So you would bring second deck weak to D-Shift because you want to ban D-Shift because your first deck is really weak to it, as in maybe even 95% or even more. And
Yeah, it's...
so would you bring first
My
deck
opponent
also weak to D-Shift?
DCs, I can beat D-Shift.
But only
The
sometimes.
third deck, third deck, I haven't always decided. It depends on the weekly meta. If it seems to be more aggro heavy, I would bring something like a Control Blood. If I think it's going to be control heavy, I'll bring probably something like a D shift or a Daria shift.
Right, so
Which-
yeah, and you actually avoid mirrors because you ban the runecraft if you bring your own run. And also,
Yes.
D-Shift is a very good, has a very good matchup versus Control Blood. So you basically bring 3 decks weak to runecraft, and you ban runecraft, and you are pretty much covered against control. I mean, control and aggro lineups, because Dragon and Wolf are really good versus control, and Wolf and Blood are really good versus aggro. So you just hope your opponent bans the deck you don't want to play in this matchup, which will rarely happen.
Yeah. Fortunately, I don't think anyone ever is going to get Dragon. It's just not a very popular deck.
Yeah,
And according to a lot of statistics, even though the deck says it has a sub 50% win rate on ladder, so people think of the deck as just a joke deck. It isn't very good. As I feel if the deck is good, it's just very matchup dependent. And you have to queue it into the right places.
yeah, and on tournament, I mean on ladder, there is tons of D-Shift and Albert crafts.
Yeah, so I've been playing this a lot less on ladder since there's been a lot more D shift going around, and just fortunately to beat D shift you have to play a lot of Albert Craft.
Yeah,
So
I've been playing the combo roach, the silver ball deck with wolves. This also seems to be farming D-Shift fairly easily.
It depends on your hand with the Silver Bolt deck.
I mean, not even the hand, but the build of the deck. I am built very aggressively. Like, I am like literal aggro forest with wolf and bolt out of nowhere.
But probably will do a lot better versus D shift than my list will.
Yeah. Right, so once again, guys, if you want to bring this deck to a tournament, recommended cards are basically 3 Ivory Dragons for 3 Dragon Emissaries, 1 Unica and 1 Blazing Breath on 1 Satan and 1 Odin. And that's pretty much it. This will give you more consistency. You will be able to draw your Satan, Bahamut, Lucifer, Odin and Sahakiel much sooner with the Dragon Emissary. You can also of course draw Draconic Fervor or Goblin Mount Demon, but that's not really optimal. Unless you are going for that turn 4 ramp with Draconic Fervor. If you didn't draw your Dragon Oracle already. And yeah, with that said, I think this is closing our session for today. It's been a pleasure recording. It's again Azur from Team Crimson Fencers, and my name is Roxos. You can find me on Twitch, and you probably found me on YouTube if you are watching this, so yeah. I will link everything below in the description. If you are interested in further cooperation or you need some support on the Shadowverse topics, you can join our team Discord channel. I will link it down in the description also. And yeah, the channel is open. You can join the general chat and definitely talk with our members or with other people engaged in our little community. Yeah, so with that said, peace out. Say bye bye, Azur.
Have a good day.
Yeah, or night, depending on when you're watching this. See you guys.